Yeah,
How's Cornell doing?
he's doing well. He's doing well. He's kind of picking up where he left off in the spring. Had a really good spring, and quite honestly, it was, I would say, even like the second half of last season when he started to get more comfortable. He's been kind of a rep guy, and has gotten the reps, and now it's somewhat second nature to him. So he's doing really well. I'm pleased with where he's at.
You guys have the helmet communications with him, right? How's that going?
Good. There's still some things you're going to have to do. You're not going to be able to get away from with the nature of college football. It's a little different than the NFL, I think, with the amount of tempo and whatnot. And you don't really get a whole lot of huddling. So to think that you can communicate with one person and then just allow them to communicate to everybody else probably will be a little bit of a challenge. But it allows, Coach Borland has been the guy that's been communicating through the helmet. And it gives guys just some reminders out on the field, so they've been receptive to it. Just because they know the stuff, but they're like, yep, and it's kind of, I guess it kind of confirms some of the stuff that they are anticipating or expecting, so it's been good.
In the spring, it sounded like you guys were cross-training Jason Gilliam at some of the other linebacker positions. Is that still in play for him, or is he kind of focusing on Hawk?
Yeah, Jason and others. There's a number of guys that are, quite honestly, I'd say half the room, probably at least, is playing more than one spot. So it's a little bit, I've kind of changed a little bit over the last few years to get it by committee, whether it's on the field in terms of positions, and you got a guy like Rich Miller that's not here anymore. It's probably even some leadership by committee. Everybody kind of has their thing that they almost hold themselves and each other accountable for, as opposed to having that one, I guess, voice that everybody kind of looks to. It's a little bit by committee. So Jason is one that does multiple, but so do others.
What are some of the different areas that different linebackers hold each other accountable for?
Well, obviously there's on the field and off the field. Just the pillars of the program and whatnot, being on time, being coachable, giving your best effort, those types of things. So anytime somebody's not, I guess, living up to the standard, then you have to address it, okay? And guys are doing a good job of that, like I said, both on and off the field.
Coach mentioned J.B. Brown as someone that's had a good camp so far. Just what have you seen from him so far?
So I thought JB was good a year ago. He's big, he's fast, he's strong, he's physical, all those things. He was a little more of a see ball, get ball guy a year ago, just because he was, he'd come to us in the spring, coming out of the portal, and was still learning. But again, going through the season, now full spring ball, he knows what he's doing. He's so now it's not just using those tools, but really knowing what his role, what his job is. He's a guy that, I'll throw in there a mic if I need to, because he, in terms of being a vocal leader, I think he's earned the respect of the locker room. And, if he says something, it carries some weight and guys listen. So he's showing up. I'd say in terms of camp right now, he's the guy that's probably showed up the most. Guys are doing a good job, but I'm happy with where JB's at.
John's someone that passes the eye test, so he's walking around in practice.
Yeah.
Can you walk through the recruiting for him and what you guys saw in him at high school and where you feel like he fits?
Well, I still remember watching his film the first time, and he was actually playing corner, and big, long guy, kind of gangly, almost not fully grown into his body, and but wasn't afraid. He'll strike somebody, and you're kind of watching the movie like, yeah, I don't know if he's got the corner skills, but could maybe be that hybrid safety type player, safety backer type player. Well, then his body started to blow up, and to the point where now you're like, holy cow. So you take some of those skills as a DB and say, okay, be an athletic guy that now grows out of that position, and that's kind of what we saw as a long body project that could be something. And I really think he's going to be a really, really good player. He covers ground, and these through the summer workouts and whatnot, I think he was the top speed guy. taking over for Logan a little bit in terms of the top speed guy, because Logan can run too. Yeah, he's fun because that's what you're looking for in a skill set for sure.
We've heard about Alex Reich as a candidate to play the hawk role when you guys are in your base defense. Just
Yeah.
how has he kind of emerged and made himself a candidate for that role?
Again, another guy that had a really good spring. Coming to us from junior college and whatnot, the game was a little fast for him. It's kind of slowed down. He's as physical as any of the guys that we have, which showed itself in the spring and has continued to do that this camp. So, you know, he's going to be able to help us, you know, in that role. But again, he's also a guy that will flip over and play into the boundary if we need him to. So I'm hoping to be able to have a fresh group out there with regularity because of the ability to develop some depth. We lose Rich as a senior and Craig Young as a senior, but we have, I mean, I got 4 seniors right now. So it's a pretty veteran group of guys, and Alex is one of those. He's going to get an opportunity to play some this fall.
What have you seen from the younger guys that anyone kind of stood out in your eyes?
Again, I would still say Logan Brantley has a tremendous skill set. It's a lot as a linebacker in terms of what you need to know and doing what you need to do. So it takes a little bit with that process. You know, I know there's sometimes guys walk in the door and they're that ready-made piece for some of the stuff that we're doing with as many different, you know, I guess calls that we have. It takes a minute to learn everything. He is learning. He's smart in the room, knows everything when you have those conversations up on the board, but then the ball gets snapped, and it happens quickly. So he's a guy that I'm pretty excited about. John, again, as we've already talked about, will be really, really good. Ja'Cory Stewart is doing some good things, very explosive, but again, a guy that's just out of high school. Tristan Fletcher's doing some things this camp as well to really improve himself and the team.
You know, what's Tyler Berryhill's a guy we've heard. I think he did look good last fall camp, maybe the previous fall camp. What's he looking like? How's that translate to the game?
Again, he's another one playing multiple positions. Has a great skill set. Working on him with just finishing plays. I mean, if you guys are all at the games and whatnot, at times he'll be in position and just lose his leverage a little bit, miss a tackle here and there. So we're working on that. He's aware of that. He's self-aware, and I just had a conversation with him the other day. He came to my office and said, you know, asked kind of what else he can do and whatnot. And those are the things that we continue to talk about. But the good news is he's doing that. Excited about his ability to help us as well.
Yeah, he was banged up at times last year. Just how much do you think that kind of hampered him over the course of last season?
Yeah, especially in camp because he kind of got a hamstring.
Yeah.
Which slowed him down. I think he's back. I mean, he's got a blister on his toe right now, like some of those bang and bruises type things. But I think he's that did slow him down a little bit a year ago. Knock on wood that we can keep him on the right track right now. Him and all those guys.
You talked about Craig and Rich. What does it take to replace 2 guys like those?
Obviously, they've played a lot of downs, so you lose some game experience, which, in my opinion, you can't really make that up. You just they got to go out there and do it. It's kind of like becoming a parent or maybe even a head coach or whatever. Like it's hard to say that you really know until you do it. So there'll be some guys that we got to go through some growing pains with just because they haven't played a ton. But like I said, through the second half of last year, I think Cornell started playing quite a bit. You know, Taiwan Berryhill played the entire season. Jason Gilliam had roles throughout the season. Alex is really going to get probably his first shot at any meaningful type snaps. So we have experience. JB played the entire season, so we do have some experience. Like I said, it's just a little bit by committee in terms of replacing those 2 guys. We're utilizing some other bodies at that field spot right now that aren't even necessarily coming out of my room. So you got some safeties playing out there to the field. which is good, because I think it makes us a little more athletic with some of the personnel groups that we see in this conference. You know, so we'll keep working with the guys that we got, and you know, sad to see those guys go, but we'll be all right.
You mentioned having some safeties play kind of the Hawk Cinco spot. I know John and Logan have experience playing defense back in high school. Is that something you look for when you're recruiting to that kind of Hawk spot, Cinco spot?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, to me, I want all of them to be those guys. And then I just want them to get bigger and be able to move them close to the ball. That's the nature of it is, you know, you got a Marvin Grant who's now kind of playing to the field a little bit. Well, he's a safety that you just move closer to the ball. He's still got the safety skill set, but you just became more athletic as a defense. You know, you got the hybrid guy that you think is a safety, maybe coming out of high school. You bump him down to play that spot, and then you bump him in. Now you just got more athletic as a defense. So I would like everybody, all of them, to recruit all those kind of guys. And if you look at some of the guys that we've been recruiting, those are guys that we're kind of looking for. You know, just because I think it makes you all more athletic as a unit.
Anything else, Coach?